Good morning, Keller Williams. How are you doing? Yeah, you see, I thought it was an evening like that. How are you doing this morning? Let me hear. I'll give that about a 4 out of 10. Tomorrow evening, it's going to be even worse. So how are you doing this morning? There we go. Welcome. So we had the awards yesterday. We all looked smart, nice. It was the first time in 4 years, in fact, that we got together. And here you are to learn. Are you ready for that? Okay. So this morning we're going to kick it off. The first thing I want to ask you is, have you gone to the shops? The shop outside where you can buy all sorts of Keller Williams branded things. Have you gone there? Let me show you my undergarment. That is a KW sock. I've got another one. It's where I'm going to stop. I've got other Keller Williams things on today, but you need to go to the shop and see what they are. Okay, so this is a once-off thing. So if you don't have anything from the shop yet, I'm sorry, you're going to lose out. Unless you go afterwards and go get something from the shop. Okay, so this morning it is my privilege to do the state of your company with you. And I'm joined on stage by two of my learned and esteemed colleagues. I've got Sean Rademeyer from Multinet. He is the CEO of Multinet. And I've got Estiani Marx from Lightstone, and she's head of real estate at Lightstone. Have you dealt with these companies before? I know, we love them. So let's get going. When we started, obviously we said that there are a few things happening in the real estate market at the moment that you probably need to be aware of. Because where are things going? What's happening in the market? How do you prepare yourself for it? Are we heading for a good time in 2023, or what's going to be the circumstances? Is it something where if we read the news, we have to start listening to what they are saying? Do we get into doom and gloom, or do we get ready for what's coming? So we're going to get right into it. I just want to make sure that this is working. Just hold on a sec. There we go. So we'll be joined by Bill Sotroff. He is for Keller Williams Worldwide, he's the vice president. Bill Sotroff could not join us this morning, but he's got a message for us. Let me just see, are you guys ready with the sound there at the back? Let's go.
And will be very strong and help support you. Now, why am I so strong about family reunion? Well, after all these years, almost 10 years in Southern Africa, we've made a change in so many different lives. We've done things really substantially differently. We have training and education, systems and models. We have the culture that we bring forward to you. We have Red Day. We have all of these different things that we bring together for people. But one of the things that we can't forget is we need to take care of each other. And there's more of us. Let me give you some numbers and statistics about what's happened over the last year. At Keller Williams Realty International, we have more than 174,000 agents. We're growing every year for 40 years. Keller Williams Worldwide has more than 17,000 agents, almost 18,000 agents, and this is our 10th year as well. And of course, KW Southern Africa, 1,455. I'll never keep up with your growth. And so let me just say thank you for all of that. We have all-time records with office growth, volume, and now we're making all-time records with production. Each one of our agents is more productive than any time in history. KWRI units closed at more than 1.1 million. KW Worldwide had more than 77,000, and in KW South Africa, there was more than 9,000 closed units. We did this with more than 57 regions around the world. And I'm really happy to tell you that just a few moments ago, I signed number 58. I can't let that little secret out right now, but you'll be hearing about that announcement between now and family reunion. But let me welcome some of the regions that we signed during the COVID era. Slovenia and Suriname, Serbia, St. Martin, Paraguay, Sao Paulo, Dominican Republic, Guyana, Aruba, Saudi Arabia, Peru, Bonaire, Uruguay, Bolivia, Albania, Switzerland, Mongolia, and Germany. Don't tell anybody yet. So one of the things that we're talking about is growth. And we have individual growth with market centers, production for agents, and ensuring that your customers are well taken care of. Now let me take a moment and challenge a number of different people. You work for a really great region in a situation where independently owned and operated market centers with independent contractor agents work with a region that gives them training, education, systems, models, and technology. I'd like to thank a few people in the region to say, you're really making a difference, and the entire world is looking at Southern Africa. You know, Johan, you were there at the beginning and started things, and I watched you go through a transition in your life and support your family and pass the torch to Natasha. And I want to speak directly to Natasha right now. You're amazing. You're remarkable. You've done so many different things in the last year. I can't thank you enough. But here's my challenge to you. We can never stop growing. So what I'm going to be looking for from Southern Africa is more market centers, more agents, more production. Do you kind of understand the theme that I'm working towards? Absolutely. Let me take a moment now to talk to our market center leadership, our OPs, team leaders, and MCAs. To all of the OPs, you know how you are in my heart. I see you on Facebook and on Insta. When I've been in Southern Africa, I've been to some of your market centers, and when you come to America and visit, I'm so happy and proud that you're in our KW family. You know, the challenge is more market centers, and the challenge for our OPs is to set standards that are higher and higher and really make sure that our market centers support and help our agents. So OPs, thank you. Keep doing more. More is better, and what you're doing is setting a standard for market centers around the world. Now to our team leaders. The challenge for you is to grow. And I'm going to ask you to think about this is be in your swim lane. Don't be in a situation where you get distracted by so many different things that might be happening. And it's difficult. An average day in a market center is not an average day. We know that every moment things can change. So a team leader who is the central point in the market center is going to have lots of distractions. The photocopier needs paper. The toilet's flushed. The light's not on outside. I need some help with this transaction. Team leader, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Well, the most important thing for team leaders is to recruit and retain, train, and educate our agents, not to be there just as a resource to fill the paper in the photocopy machine. So I'm challenging our team leaders to make sure that if you are going to do your job properly, and OPs, you have to set the standards and hold our team leaders accountable. If you're going to do the job properly, team leaders, every single market center in Southern Africa needs to grow with double-digit growth with agents at the end of the year. Now, let me take a moment to talk about our MCAs. I kind of get choked up when I think about what you do. You're amazing. You know, for what you do for all of our agents, what you do in support of the market centers, what you do in support of the systems and the models that we have, and understanding how important our agents and their transactions are, that's simply an amazing person who comes forward. So thank you. I think you probably have the hardest job because you take care of so many people, and I see the efficiency that's happening in Southern Africa, and I'd like to say thank you to you. You're wonderful and remarkable. Now to all of our agents. The agents in Southern Africa have transformed my life, and I believe that your lives have changed. But you know what? You're also changing the lives of people who are buying and selling property in Southern Africa. 10 years ago when we started on this journey, I heard we don't really have a lot of teams and we can't be able to do that and we do things differently here in South Africa. And the answer was you took a leadership role around the world and you created market centers and you created teams and you created great agents and you created an environment that was amazing and remarkable. That was as you learned our system, which was really quite new outside the United States at that time. And so for all the hard work that you put in, all those days that you're away from your family, all the times that you're showing weddings and you're being in a situation where you're helping your customers, I'd like to say thank you to you. It's such a hard job and you do it so well. So let's talk about the environment that we work in right now. I don't have to tell you that nobody in the world was prepared for what we've gone through in the last 2 or 3 years. You know, we had social and economic problems that happened and occurred in Southern Africa and now around the world. And we've had to learn how to deal with all of those things on a daily and yearly basis. And it's not easy because it's changing. Then, of course, we had COVID. Oh yeah, I forgot about COVID. We spent all that time walking around and putting masks on and taking masks off and trying to pretend that all of this was just a natural, ordinary thing to do. How many times did I take my mask off and realize that I was wearing my wife's mask because there was lipstick inside of it? So all those things happened to us, and we took it in stride and we learned how to do our own business and take care of our families. Think about the accomplishments of what you did during that COVID era. It may not be over. You know, we hear these reports and stories from things in Asia and the UK and different places, and we may have to adapt and adjust going into the future. But I know that Southern Africa will lead the world in doing all the things that we need to do in order for you to take care of your customers and your families. And then, of course, we have economic difficulties started by the Russia-Ukraine war. None of us really saw that coming. We all had to deal with the refugee crisis in Africa and in Europe, the Ukraine-Russia war, the oil changes, all the things. As I think about it, you know, I think to myself, were we ever really prepared for all these things to occur? And what remains amazing to me is how you have adapted and altered your life so that you can properly take care of your family. So as I mentioned all of these different things, probably there will be more things coming in the future. Probably in the next 1, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, there will be things that we don't even think about that will try to get in our way and stop us. But nothing can stop you because you have great leadership, your market centers are strong, your ALC is strong, and your team leaders and MCAs are there to help every one of you. My message for you today is what I want you to fully understand is that there's a worldwide family here to help you. And as you go through your training and education, you'll be able to share what you're learning with people around the world. Now, one of the benefits of COVID was Zoom. I've never spoken to so many people as I have in my entire life, sitting at my desk, or that wonderful commute that I made for 3 or 5 months. I used to wake up in my bed, go to the toilet, go to the kitchen for coffee, and walk into my office 12 meters away, sometimes wearing pants and sometimes not wearing pants, but I could talk to everybody in the world. I know that every one of you did the same thing. So one of the blessings that came from COVID was our ability to take care of people, talk to people, and have a communication that we never had before at a heightened level. Don't let that get away. Don't let that slip away. Don't let that be in a situation where it was yesterday's program. Allow that to continue. We have a program now that we're starting, and you'll hear a little bit more about at Family Reunion in Anaheim. And that program is 201. If you have 201 contacts in your database, then that will help you do your business. And of course, we all know that we have the tools available to us, and as long as we implement those tools, we have the tools available to us for us to be very special. Let me put it this way. The founder of our company, Gary Keller, gave us all the tools that we're going to need. I know that every one of you has seen these books, but have you read them, reread them, and gone through book clubs in your market centers? Right now, the MREA is the most valuable tool that you have to learn, relearn, and apply the lessons in this book to everything that you can do in your market center and for your business. Page 256 is my favorite page. Take a look at that and let's talk about that at a later time. Now, every one of us knows that we're in a shift. And the shift is really a word that Gary created and we as a company own. Utilize that for your marketing and let people know in your marketplace that you have the vision of what's occurring in a shift. And the wonderful thing about a shift is it shifts. Economy, social environmental issues, political issues, war, pestilence, all the things that are going to occur that are going to cause a trouble for you taken care of in this book by giving you a guide on what you can do to help buyers and sellers when they most need you. So please remember, these are the tools that you can use and utilize in your own business. And team leaders, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the Market Center, when you're going through your training and education, these are your best tools to share with your agents. On a little private moment, Gary Keller has just brought forward a book with Jay Papasan called Your First Home. And my wife and I were very honored that our first home was included in this book. And I have to laugh because when my children first saw it, they could not believe the facts. They're very upset about interest rates that in America have gone from 2 to 6%. And my wife and I paid 18% in our first home. And the answer is, that too shall pass. Wait and be patient. Be training with your customers and be in a situation where you help them see the possibilities for the future. Nothing lasts forever. On the note of the family reunions that we have around the world, let me just mention that not only does Southern Africa have a family reunion, but there are family reunions in France, in Mexico, Turkey, Portugal, Spain, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and of course in Anaheim in February for the big show with probably more than 18,000 people. So after I've said all these things to you, I want to sit with you and say this. Don't stop. Don't think your work is completed. You have to take care of your family. You have to take care of your work. You have to take care of yourselves. Gary Keller said something to me that has really stuck with me, and I put a little note on my computer, and he said, people matter. You matter. And what you do on a day-to-day basis is extremely important. If you get to know things about your business, people, our culture, and numbers matter. Please know that the secret of Keller Williams is our culture. Not only just on Red Day, but how we conduct ourselves. Remember the Y4C2Ts, the MVVP, and understand that every day in our market centers, we set standards that other people will watch, make fun of, and then emulate and want to adopt. And each one of you has learned that more than anybody else that I know of around the world. Now, as I close, I just want to say a couple more things to you about what I've seen and some of the things that I've been thinking about. Just this morning, I was handed this quote, and I wanted to share it with you. A person's most beautiful asset is not a head full of knowledge, but a heart full of love, an ear ready to listen, and a hand willing to help. In KW, there are many hands willing to help. In KW, there are many people who are different, who think differently, look differently, act differently, and speak differently. I don't need to tell you the differences that have occurred around the world with politics and the economy. So this is a different world. And in a different world, I look at Southern Africa and I say to myself, teach us. Teach us about the future. And don't stop. OPs set standards and hold people accountable. Team leaders recruit and train. MCAs take care of your agents. Agents, let's grow. Don't sit there and do nothing. We need to Get ready and go to work. Let's grow.
Bill, President KW Worldwide. Let's give him another hand. And did you hear what he said? He said they learned from us. Did you hear that? We were the first, Johan would argue, some would say, they tell us the second. Johan would argue and say we were the first region outside of North America. Nobody thought that this concept, this business model will work, not in South Africa. I know Johan didn't believe it initially. And look at you now. And I said this to you yesterday evening. Look at you. Just look around and see what has happened with this business model that we all believe in, this company, this culture. So let's take a moment this morning to talk about this company and see where we are. What's happening? What have you been doing? What impact have you had in your market, in your families, with your competition, with your clients so far? So those are some of the awards that you've won. You can see, that we are a top female-friendly company. I know that. Sometimes the females are not always friendly, though, but that's a different story. We are also one of the world's best employers in 2022, according to Forbes. One of our leaders have won a prize, and she's been acknowledged by Housing Wire as a leader in the real estate space. Then LinkedIn recognized us as one of the top companies in real estate last year. We were also recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine as one of the top global franchises last year in 2022, and by Franchise Business Review as one of the top franchises for women. And then the Franchise Times said that we are in the top 500. In fact, we ranked very high on the top 500 as a franchise. And you can also see the very last one is that we are one of the top recession-proof franchises in the world. Those are all the prizes that you won, Keller Williams. And what you see here, there's nothing different. What we do here is nothing different from the business model worldwide. I've been lucky enough to meet some of the Mexico people. I've been lucky enough to meet some of the Portugal people running Keller Williams. And you know what? When they start talking, they sound slightly different, but it's only the accent. Once you listen to them and you hear what they are saying, they sound exactly the same as you do. And so my encouragement to you is please make a plan. If you can ever do that, and you should, try and go to one of those big events in the United States and just see it. Just see it, because you are part of an international phenomenon. You are part of one of the biggest real estate company the world has ever seen. There's no other real estate network that is bigger than you. And I think that's just amazing, because as you work in your markets, as you do your listing comes into a network, and when your market center dominates that area, it will be easier for you to get those listings. It will be easier for you to sell those listings, because the network will do so much of that work for you. So what else? Well, there's this guy, you might have heard of him. His name is Gary, and no other person has been recognized as one of the most powerful people in real estate. He was in the top 5. He's been in the top 5 now for the past 10 years. And last year, he was recognized as number 2 most powerful person in real estate. We sort of dispute the number 1, but that's just us. So let's talk about Keller Williams South Africa specifically. Do you know when we started? 2013. The master license was signed in Somerset West. Well, not in Somerset West. It began in Somerset West, where the first conversation started. The master license, of course, was signed in the United States. But that's where it started, in 2013. And those little houses that you see, those are market centers. And so in 2013, you were 12 market centers. What's really nice for me is to see some of those OPs still here. I saw Marco this morning. Marco, where are you? There you are. Dion, are you here? There you are, yes. So some of the OPs that joined us in 2013 are still with us. Much richer, of course, but they are still with us. Okay, 2015, you can see things started happening. 2017, it went quite well. 2018, and then in 2019, some of the market centers closed down. We're a family. And sometimes in families, things happen. And so in this family, some things also happened. In 2020, the franchisee for the Western Cape closed the market centers, and I'm happy to say that in 2022, all those market centers reopened again, or 4 market centers reopened again. We're also on track to reopen, the 5th market center in the Western Cape very soon. That happened in a year. And what happened in that year? Well, all those market centers already have an agent count of more than 50. Let me hear my Western Cape market centers. Are you in the house? Mighty Western Cape. Oh, that's okay. So 2022, obviously we opened some more market centers, as you can see. And now our goal in 2023, we already have 1, but our goal in 2023 is to open 6 market centers. This is an opportunity where, think about the way that Keller Williams operates. We don't have a little office in every single town in the country. What we do have is market centers that dominate, through you, the agent, their areas. And so we have about 12 opportunities left, of which we will open 6 this year, and we hope to open the remaining 6 next year. I want to make a point, though. There's never not opportunity in Keller Williams. There's never not opportunity in Keller Williams. Framed in the positive, this is a land of opportunity. Like you, I was an estate agent also. I'm still an estate agent, and all of our company is run by estate agents. That's one of the big differences between Keller Williams and other companies. So, you've been busy. The market is taking note. That's what you are doing so far. That's agent growth in 10 years. Yes, only 10 years. No other company in South Africa has ever grown faster than you have, Keller Williams, and I think that in itself needs a hand. We're on track to reach 1,800 agents by the end of this year. No, and? If we do reach that, not even at the 1,800, we'll be at number 3 in the country. So number 1 has been in the country for about just over 30 years, number 2 for over 40 years, and there's us, there's you, in number 4, number 3 now. And in fact, we might already be number 3. We just can't get proper stats because they stopped displaying their agent count on their websites when we came. Okay, so Keller Williams, that's you. You are becoming the largest real estate sales force also in South Africa. And go for it. I want you to remember that the power of the network will amplify you. It will amplify your activities. It will amplify what you do. It will amplify your results. It will amplify the impact that you're making in your clients' lives. Believe in the power of the network because that's one of the most powerful tools you have. It's not just about the board or the this or the that, the CRM or this system or that training, although that is important. But also, the power of the network is something that you will see in your business. Once your market centers, I said, start dominating that area, you will find that. So it's incumbent upon you to make sure that you regard yourself as a stakeholder in the growth of your market center so that you can get the benefit of this unbelievable exponential effect in your business with that dominating sales force in your area. So you're also earning quite well at this stage. And this is your 10 years of GCI growth. You can see from 2021 to 2022, it's moved up. Yes, we've had a fantastic 2021. Remember when we all thought the world is coming to an end after COVID, and then we had our best year ever in 2021. And look what you did in 2022. It was your best year ever. Give yourself a hand for that as well. The question is what's going to happen in 2023? We'll get to that. So in terms of volume, that's the volume of the sales that you've done, not the units. You can see that you've moved slightly up from 2021 to 2022. Again, that's 10 years of growth. Units, so units have gone down. Do you see from 2021 to 2022, your units sold have gone ever so slightly? How do you feel about that? I just don't like it. No, I'm not sure about you, but I just don't like it. And we should get ready for an amazing 2023. And there's a way. If you have a plan, remember what SHIFT says. You have to get real, and then you have to get right. And that's all about the action that you take. Let's talk about the actions that we will take. We'll start looking at the South African real estate market and things that are applicable to you as a real estate agent right now. This is what you need to know going into 2023. Because you can say, I'm not going to be successful in 2023 because. That's the no because attitude. Or you can say, yes, and this is what I'll do. Yes, and this is what I'll take on, who I'll partner with, what I'll learn, how I'll train, what the activities are that I'll be doing. Okay, so as I said, I'm joined by Sean Rademacher, CEO of Multinet, and Estiani Marx, Head of Real Estate at Lightstone. So Sean, I'm going to start with you. We need to look at these interest rates. Looking at the interest rates from 1998, I don't know, but I'm seeing two things that are quite relevant. The first thing is, thank goodness I wasn't in real estate in 1998. That left-hand side just looks really bad. But I was in real estate in 2007, and I remember that's when the Credit Act came in. I also remember that's when interest rates went up. And so after that, we had quite a nice, chilled ride from there on further. In fact, if you look at that green line in the middle, that is still the average of interest rates from 1998. What are you seeing there, Sean?
Yeah, thanks, Dion. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting us here, and thank you for all the support that we got over the last 5 years. The relationship's been that long. Hey, Johan, can you believe it? As I joined Multinet, we got together and we saw each other in 5 years now. I mean, we've tripled our market share in the industry. So thank you very much to everyone that's part of our journey. Yeah, I think, most of you in the room understand the cycle. You have to look at inflation. If inflation is above the target range between 3 and 6%, interest rates are going to go up. If inflation does come within that range, then interest rates might come down. Our feel over the next 12 months is that we're probably going to see another 50 basis points, 25 in the next round and 25 in the following, and potentially at the end of the year or the last cycle, we might see it starting to calm down. The impact that's going to have on real estate and specifically consumers is that we're already seeing that the affordability is becoming an issue. So as customers could afford 6 months ago a R1 million property with a salary of, let's call it 22,000, now for a R1 million property they need to earn 23 to 24,000 rand. And we're seeing that having a massive impact on conversion ratios, where we were sitting last year, January, 65% of customers were taking the bond. This year, January, we were sitting at 45%. So we can already see the impact of those interest rates, and I think we're going to feel it for another 6 or 7 months to come.
Absolutely true. And yet, if you look at the average, we are still sort of doing well compared to the last few years. In fact, compared to the last 20 years, really, we are still doing really well.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, these times give us opportunity. Many of us sat in the room and we're saying there's no stock and we can't find houses to sell, and it's difficult. What happens now is that we're moving from a seller's market to a buyer's market, depending on what areas you're going to look in South Africa, and more stock is going to become available. So, if you have a positive mindset, you'll probably do better than what you did in 2021 and 2022. But if you allow the negativity of interest rates and inflation and all of that, you're going to do worse. The market still sells and still buys, even when we were sitting at 23%. So we're very, very bullish. And I think if we can partner up with positive people, we'll do well all together.
Fantastic. So one of the other things that I saw, Sean, I don't know if I need to read anything into this. It's just what if you look at the South African interest rate over the past couple of years, in fact, as far back as I think that was back to 1998. 1996, in fact. Can you see where the South African interest rate was back then versus the United States interest rate back then? And then the trend over time. I find that very interesting. In fact, if you look at them from 2009 to essentially about 2016, they were at a sort of a 0% interest rate. Have you ever thought of selling property in a 0% interest rate environment? I think that's the most wonderful thing ever. But that might bring other problems. Of course, that might bring other problems with too much stock or too many offers. Who knows? Who knows what will happen there? But it certainly did move closer together over time. Sean, do you think we need to read anything into that or just smile and look at it?
I think you can see that the trend is the same, and it follows investment. You know, we cannot have a low interest rate in South Africa when the US is giving you a 6% return. So if the US interest rate's at 6% and we're at 6%, where are the investors going to put their money? So the SARB has to also attract cash into South Africa, and to do that, we need to give a good return for it. And that's why you'll always see if they go up by 75, we'll probably go up by 75, just to ensure that we don't lose that capital investment in South Africa.
I think it shows, Sean, that we are also in an international environment. And looking at the international environment in most countries in the world at this stage, it's an interest rate hiking cycle. It's going up. I was looking at the UK. I saw in Australia. It looks to me like in most countries in the world at this stage, in order to combat inflation with these macroeconomic things happening in the world, obviously the war, energy prices, all sorts of things like that, it seems to me that the world is in an interest rate hiking cycle at this stage.
Yeah, it's for sure. And again, it's all about the inflation rate. You know, we need to keep inflation down. And that stagflation is one of the things that people are talking about now. It's where you can't get inflation down, but you can't get the economy going. So you're in this limbo of you're not allowed to drop interest rates because you're going to get into an inflation cycle, but you have to drop interest rates to get the economy going. And now you're in this stagflation state where nothing's happening. So we'll see this up and down movement in South Africa and in the world. And again, if we focus just on these interest rates and we say, the sales aren't going to happen because of that, you're going to get into a point where you're not going to find those sales. But when you say, look, this is a cycle, which we've seen, and we know how to deal with these cycles, there's opportunity in each one of them, find those opportunities and we'll be able to make it through.
Fantastic. Istiani, I want to move over to you. Obviously, when we look at the stats that you guys are giving us on a regular basis, there's a lot of opportunity there, it seems, and even in a market like this. So what are some of the opportunities that you recognize now? Now, just before we get there, I think one of the things that stood out to me is just, some of the things that are happening in certain segments of the market. For example, you can see that the percentage of township stock is quite high compared to the other, sort of property types that are available. The next highest one is obviously mid-value properties. But when you look at the percentage of value, of course, that tends to skew more towards the mid-value, high-value, and luxury sort of property types. Also, with regards to new stock, though, it seems to me that in the affordable segment, you can see that new stock entering into the market is very high and quite skewed on the affordability side of things. And then only then thereafter can you go towards what we've always done as sort of our bread and butter business, which is mid-value stock. High value, that's also doing quite well, but you can see quite a market drop-off with regards to luxury. Super luxury also had a bit of a tick-up and not much more. That's new stock entering the market. This I find quite interesting, though. When you look at estates, and it seems to me that we need to take note of what's happening with estates, freehold properties in estates, and sectional title properties in estates especially. So if you look at this graph, just the age of properties in estates, you can see that estates is something that's also somewhat of a recent sort of happening. It's gone for a few years, but obviously over the period of time, over the past 20 years, most of us sold freehold properties maybe outside of estates. It seems to me that something is happening there. It seems to me that so much more stock is entering the market in and through estates. Am I right?
Is my mic? Sorry, that's it. There we go. Definitely, Dion. And I think maybe just to take one step back, we've talked or spoken about opportunities. And as much as we say that the interest rate is causing, people to not sell as many units, I think the opportunity still lies in the fact that in South Africa we've got just about 7 million residential properties and a transaction rate of about 30,000 properties registering on a monthly basis. So, you know, if we talk about a 1% dip or a 2% dip, we're talking about small numbers in terms of opportunities. So, and having said that, you've had the slide up just now around new properties being introduced into the market every year. So, I mean, just last year in 2022, we saw 72,000 new properties being registered in South Africa. And I think that is a massive opportunity for each one of the estate agents here today to recognize that, you know, the opportunities are there, the stock is there, and the stock is churning. There's a churn. So, and rightly so in terms of the estates, as you've mentioned. So, estates have come, I think it was just over 20 years ago when it started to enter the market, the estates itself. Estates constitutes about 7% of stock at the moment. However, in just last year, 14% of the new stock, which we've said is 72,000, was estates. And the sentiment is very much around people want to live in a secure environment. They want to live in a lifestyle environment. So therein lies a huge opportunity, especially within the estates in South Africa.
Okay, so Isiane, if we move on to, you know, let's talk about estates some more. Let's talk about the values in estates. So looking at this, it seems to me that going back, you know, the property values in estates were sort of skewed towards the higher end of the market, whereas it seems to me that now, in the more recent past, and especially now, it goes more towards maybe new stock with regards to mid-value properties. And it seems also that some estates are actually developed to bring mid-value properties on the market.
Definitely, and I think that is also an indication of opportunities because the market is now expanding, or the opportunity is expanding for more people to actually live in estates. And I think there's a bit of a restructuring also in estates where we do see lots more sectional titles actually being built and constructed within estates, which again shows, you know, the trend towards where the South African people prefer to buy and stay. And also, if you look at values in terms of properties in estates, we did see that in last year, your freehold that are actually not in estates saw a little bit of a decline in terms of value, where properties or freehold specifically that are situated in estates saw a massive increase in value. So definitely, I think, Dion, estates is one of the trending property types at the moment, definitely.
To a certain extent, one's got to be cognizant of, I think, the South African circumstance, which is that to a certain extent, one would say, maybe we do business in little bubbles. And, you know, estates are some of those little bubbles where, you know, there's a property market, there's financing available for it. And obviously there's a lot of movement to make sure that that also starts extending towards the more affordable side and even the township properties. But at this stage, looking at the stats, it's certainly still, you know, focused on estates and what's happening with regards to new stock in estates. Okay, let's move on. I wanted to go back one slide and just show you this. Now, that's just a normal slide to show you, you know, what's been happening over the past year or 3 years essentially with just simple transfers. You can see that going from 2021 to 2022, there was a slightly higher number of properties transferred in 2022 compared to 2021. Obviously, they're in the same also with regards to value and average sales price. So we are sort of moving sideways at the moment with the South African property that we are selling. I don't know about you, is that what you're experiencing in your business as well? Because this is what the trends are telling us. Now, Isiane, we did mention this, but I wanted this to just be clear. So if you do have a freehold property in an estate, that would probably have a higher value than a freehold property outside of an estate. And similarly with a sectional title property in an estate compared to a sectional property outside of an estate.
Yes, and that the data clearly shows us, as I've mentioned, that there's definitely an increase in terms of value for real estate within estates or property types within estates. And also, I think worth mentioning that, you know, we're currently sitting with about 500,000 units in estates or properties, freeholds, and the market is actually increasing that by about 10,000 per annum. So the value will, I think, from a stock perspective, still increase in the coming years. and definitely in terms of the property types and the market expanding of people that are actually able to enter into the estate market, definitely.
Got it. Okay, so do we need to read anything into the sales volume per wealth segment? Is that anything that is interesting to us as estate agents? Just the average sales price per wealth segment, obviously that will be tended to be skewed or skewed towards the higher end. But the sales volume per wealth segment, I find it interesting that that's still focused mainly on mid-value and high value. It seems to me that's not really different, compared to the previous years, 5 years back. It's still exactly the same, isn't it?
Very much, and I think Sean has also spoken around the affordability of the South African market, which clearly speaks to, this is where we sit, although the affordable market is actually the gap currently in South Africa. And what's nice is that we did see that about 30% of the new properties constructed or brought into the market last year was in the affordable market. So that market or that gap is starting to be filled.
Yes.
Obviously at a slower than a great pace, or what we would have wanted to see, but at least there is some focus in constructing in the affordable market, and obviously people moving from township level into the affordable market. So that's a great shift that we actually do see.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing it popping up quite soon
Yeah.
then. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's exactly what you spoke about, the churn and just the churn in the wealth segment. So that's exactly what, it's something that's happening now. Okay, let's look at the age profile of buyers. Who should we go out and find?
So very interesting that we saw that just over 30% of buyers last year was under the age of 35. So although I think the biggest market at the moment is still buyers within the age brackets of 36 to 49. So that's where you will find most sales happening. But it's very interesting that we saw after COVID that the entrance into the market was spread quite more broadly across the age group. So a lot of new entrants into the market or young entrants into the market, but then also the older generation bought again. So, saw that, okay, well, maybe real estate is still a very good investment. And Sean has alluded to that as well. I think there's stats that showed that within the last 50 years, it was only 3 years that property did not yield a positive return. So definitely, I think across all age groups, but 36 to 49 still is where the majority of buyers
Okay, so
are.
that's where the majority of them still are. So if we want to go out and find some of the younger buyers, and if we focused on them, let's just say that we see that now, obviously knowing that the affordable market will be one of our opportunities. What are they buying?
So definitely, as we've mentioned, in the mid to high value, so that's where the market are. I think just maybe to also nice stats that isn't necessarily shown up here, which is around the first-time home buyers. So your first-time home buyers is generally people that buy, so 70% of them are actually single buyers. So people entering the market on a single basis, so not joint sales. And then also the female population is actually buying most of the properties. So again, talk about security, talk about investment vessels, but free market entrance seems to have been, there's an increase in single purchases as opposed to joint purchases.
Excellent. Now, Sean, I'm specifically wondering about other opportunities. I mean, obviously there's load shedding, there's energy crisis, all sorts of things. What does that create as an opportunity for us as estate agents to look at?
Yeah, so, one of the things that the South African banks are really focusing on is how to assist the consumer with transitioning from off-the-grid systems, even boreholes, whatever they need to be able to have their properties and be able to use them. So we've got a few banks that are now willing to exceed the 100% LTV criteria. One of them are going 20% above the actual LTV. The others are offering 10%. And all of them are looking for opportunities to be able to give to customers an additional, electrical compliance on the solar. But what we're seeing is going to happen is that those banks that are lacking, the properties that are going to come on the market, if you have two of the properties are the same and the one has got a battery system and the other one doesn't, you're going to see that those properties with the battery systems are going to sell faster. So I think the banks are realizing that if they don't offer this to their consumers quick enough, their stock that comes onto the market, if we do start going through bad times, will sit longer than those that the banks have really focused on the consumers. So the opportunity there for you is to go to your old customers and phone them and say, look, these are the new things that we have coming into the market. Multinet will help you with the whole process, even if it's an old bond. And you might find that those customers will come back to you and say, thank you for that now, and can you actually sell my property as well, now that you've done all the requirements for this. So please, speak to us and we'll give you all the information about the value add that you can give to your customers that you've helped over the last 4 or 5 years.
Love that. We just installed a battery system and a solar system in our house. I'm not moving. I'm staying. If I'm moving to a property without it, I'm definitely not moving. It does make a massive difference, and I think that is obviously one of the things that buyers will be looking for. And if you're a seller, that puts you in a very good position to negotiate a better price. Thank you very much. Let's look at just one other thing before we end this off. Some would say that there's a storm coming. Some would say that in an interest rate hiking cycle like this, you need to be scared. Some would say that you need to look at the news and you need to look at all sorts of other things that are telling you that the market is going to go down and it's going to go down sharply. In fact, as a market center owner, I will tell you, that we can see things are happening in the property market, and not all of them good. My question to you is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because in a crisis, in a shift, let's call it a shift because that's what it is, there are 3 sorts of people. You get those who are unnecessarily or maybe unrealistically optimistic. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. And they've not changed a single thing in the way they approach their businesses. Right in the middle, you get those who are so pessimistic that they're looking at the sky thinking it's going to fall right now. The world is at an end. Let's just stop. And maybe some of you are thinking like that. I'm pretty sure it's not you. It's your competition. But yet, if it was you, that's also not the right way to approach this. I think the right way to look at this is a cycle. That's the nature of a cycle. What goes up must come down, and what goes down will go up again at some stage. So the first thing is just that I always say, get real, shift, and then you have to start doing something. Now, you can sell property where you do it like the one sale to the next sale. You sell a property, and then you go look for the next one to sell, and you sell that one, and then you go look for the next one to sell, and you go sell that one. That's the straw approach. It's not a nice place to be. We sometimes call it the real estate roller coaster. Or you can start building a funnel where you live at the top of the funnel, and you understand that what you put into that funnel, maybe in a shift, needs to be slightly more than usually. But it's still you putting leads into that funnel and then working it through your system to a place where you've converted that lead into somebody who will do business with you. And that leads to repeats and referrals. What we've done have never changed. It's never changed. It's just that in this time, you need to do more of it. You just need to, it doesn't even mean more time. It just means more focus going into this shift. And then you will be all right. So if your database at this stage is any fewer names in it, it's got any fewer names than 201, go for it. That's a controllable. That's something that you can do immediately. When I saw this, Charge the Storm, I thought, what is this about? What is this Charge the Storm about? So this is what it's about. This is true, by the way. So in a storm, these buffalo, that in the places where they are, they get these massive snowstorms. And so what they do as a herd in a massive snowstorm is that, unlike other animals that turn around and run away or try to hide from the storm, they turn and they face the storm. True story. They face the storm head on. And they do it together, by the way. Sort of they herd up and they face the storm together. And then they go and run into the storm and get through it as quick as possible. Do not ever forget the power of your network. I asked you in the beginning, and I said to you yesterday also, just look around you. When we had the millionaires yesterday, I said, look around you. Get to know each other, because this is your herd. These are your people. This is your network. This is what makes you stronger. This is what will allow you, with your activities, with the training and the tech and the consulting and coaching and everything we provide to face the storm, charge the storm, and run through it. Keller Williams Southern Africa, if I look at you, if I look at this company, I'm ready to charge the storm with you. Are you with me?